Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron and I am coming back with the third installment of the 53rd series of Battlytics videos. I just made that up. I don't think it's the 53rd installment. But it is the third video in this like recent run of the Bushwhacker, the Crusader, and now the Victor VTR-9D. This is such a cool mech with the big, glass cockpit canopy thing going on there. The new model is absolutely fantastic. I really love that. So, this thing, the 9D. So I like the 9D because the Succession Wars era one, it's like an AC-20, an SRM-4, two mediums. Like that sucks because you can't get in range of anything ever. Everybody runs away from you if they have half a brain. This thing, however, gets a Gauss rifle. I love the Gauss rifle. Gives it so much more range. But they also put on a pair of medium pulse lasers, which I absolutely hate inner sphere pulse weaponry because the ranges are abysmal. But you do get that -2 to hit, so there's that. So a little boon, a little bit of a curse. We'll see what happens. But this is the Clan Invasion era refit. It's 1700-ish. I think it's 1717 battle value to be precise. And overall, I think it will be a solid performer. It's one of those, it's a light assault. It's an extra heavy. It's kind of like the Zeus. It's like a sort of all-purpose. It's not like a stone cold killer. Like an Annihilator or something like that. But this thing, I think, can hold its own. But we'll find out. We're going to run it through all the simulations and analyses. So guys, stick around. That's coming right up. But before it does, don't forget to subscribe. Public service announcement. Subscribe, like the video, tell us what you think about it at the end, and now you can stay tuned for the video. Here it comes. And we're back. Here we are, Victor. I always forget to tell people to subscribe until the very end of the video, so I'm trying to squeeze that in as much as possible. We're going on a subscriber drive. Can we get to 10,000, guys? We didn't think 5,000 was achievable, but can we get to 10? Here we are. We're so close. We're so close. Anyway, Victor VTR-9D. This puppy was produced in 3049. It was like Helm memory core type technology, right, where they got the pulse lasers, the Gauss, endo steel structure, and of course a standard fusion engine. Thank the Lord. I do not like XL engines, as you guys know. I really think that they're just, I don't know, too jeopardizing, too risky. So this thing, 1717 battle value. I don't know. Is that too much? It's not overly expensive, but I feel like, for 4 weapons, 2 of them being completely ineffective medium pulse lasers, I'm not sure. This thing might be overpriced. We're going to find out. Armor-wise, it's got 12.5 tons, 200 pips. That's pretty good. 81% coverage. The one thing that sticks out at me is the arms and the legs. They're just, it's not there for me. I would rather see less on the side torsos. Again, you don't have an XL engine. Beef up those arms and the legs a little bit, and I think I'd feel better about it. But we'll see how it all shakes out. So, guys, let's look at the offensive benchmarks. All right, so here we are. This thing does 164 points of baseline damage, and shockingly never builds up heat. I don't know if I mentioned this in the intro. I think I missed it, but it's got 15 single heat sinks. So it does not have double heatsink technology. It's got 15 single heatsinks. Why did they not take heatsinks off? Probably for the jump jets. You can overheat if you're using your jump jets like a lunatic and firing everything. But I mean, that happens. I don't know. Again, it would happen so rarely. I don't know why you would need all that dissipation. But I don't design mechs, guys. I just review them. So red line damage, baseline, optimized, it's all the same. Basically, it really kicks up at 6 inches when those medium pulse lasers get into play. The Gauss rifle doing the bulk of the damage there, but you can see it tick up a little bit at 9 inches as well, or 9 hexes, depending on your flavor, when that SRM-4 comes into play. So lethality, it got like 95% kill that's pretty good. Most of them were, as you can see, CT kills, but you do have a 12.3% on the head kills. That's courtesy of that mighty Gauss rifle, the Decapitator. Whether you got 10 points of total armor and structure or a full 12, if you get hit in the head with a Gauss rifle, you're in trouble. So damage per hit is 7.9. Again, average being brought up by that Gauss rifle. Critical hits at 3.46, not spectacular. I'm sure the SRM4 helping that number a little bit. But the time to kill, it's not great. And I was actually really surprised by this, 9.21. And then as I was thinking it through a bit more, you know, what happens is like you're spending a large majority of the game with only one weapon. If you get an unlucky hit, you know, at 21 inches, you know, or like turn 2, and they rip that arm off that has the Gauss rifle, you're in trouble. You know, you don't have a whole lot, and you're basically then just like running at full speed with your little helmet head on the Victor, trying to get those pulse lasers in range, which sucks. But, you know, at the end of the day, as long as you can keep that Gauss operational, I think you can threaten targets, you know, because again, you've got a Decapitator, you know, literally mounted to your mech. So let's take a look at the defensive side. Offensive side, a little bit underwhelming. Just for context, again, the Bushwhacker, which we looked at a few episodes ago, if you will, that was like 156-ish. It was like 150 to like 157. Like it was in that ballpark somewhere. This is like, you know, what, 35 tons more? Did I do that math right? No, 25 tons more. And it's not doing much more damage. You know, it's doing like 10 points more-ish over 12 turns. Like that to me like isn't worth it. And again, the Bushwhacker 1200 BV, this thing's 1700. We'll see. We'll see. Let's take a look at the survivability. We'll see how it shakes out. All right, so again, the armor diagnostic here. So it's really weird. The center and left and right torsos are over-armored. The rear also substantially over-armored. But yet you're under on the arms where, you know, 75% of your weapons live, and you're under on the legs, which it bothers me. It's like never the kind of thing that like you want to see. All right, let's look at the mobility analysis. So 5.6% of the time, right, it's getting a motive hit. So that's like 1 in 20 shots, a little more than, a little less, I guess, than 1 in 20 shots. More frequently than that, I should say, if it makes more sense that way. You're seeing a motive critical on this mech, and that's courtesy of that piss poor armor on the legs. Just going to the actual numbers here, so it's got 20 pips of armor on the leg and 17 pips of structure. So it barely has more armor than structure, which I never love to see. And those side torsos, you know, CT's at 34 points. So, I mean, you could definitely peel some off, put it on the legs. The arms are only at 18 each in terms of armor. Like a couple of PPC blasts, an AC-10 and a PPC, like you're in trouble. I mean, I don't feel good about that armor distribution. But then you go over to survivability, and it's not bad, 90.1%. Why? Well, engine deaths are extremely low, 1.3%. If you remember the Crusader, right, that basically was like ammo or engine or bust in terms of the criticals, it had 20-something% engine deaths at a total survivability in the, I believe, the mid to high 70s. This is doing much better. The thing is, you know, it could be stripped of its weapons if both the arms go. It could be legless if it's laying on the ground, you know, somebody takes off the leg. But, you know, if you get lucky and the damage does spread around the most probable locations, which is in fact that torso, you know, this thing could definitely last. And again, in this benchmark, right, it's facing down an awesome that's firing 3 PPCs or as many PPCs as it can fire without, you know, really overheating and taking on a gunnery penalty. So this thing's taking substantial fire from big hit weapons. It's doing pretty well. Speed does degrade a little bit. I should say degrade a little bit, you know, from a +2 to a 1.8, but your average target mod is a 1.97. It's not seeing a lot, and that's because, again, those critical slots padded out. We've seen that in the past. When you don't have those roll agains in the legs, it does help to kind of sink some of those critical hits into other componentry. I think this Victor has a heatsink and a jump jet. Yeah, has a heatsink and a jump jet in each of those legs. So for what that's worth, that's a benefit. So let's take a look at the efficiency and see where this thing shakes out. It's got decent survivability, not astronomical, but definitely on the upper end. But again, that damage, oh, so low, so low. All right, let's take a look and see. All right, so here it is. The optimized ACD, right, is good. The effective's pretty good too. Only a 3.8% damage loss. Again, courtesy of higher survivability, that certainly helps. But it's not doing a ton of damage. Still, your effective ACD is 158.2. So at 1,700 points, you're at a 6.58. For context, just comparing it, and I know they're totally different eras, so don't jump down my throat, but all Victors are generally built the same. There isn't one where it's like substantially better than the other. The Crusader was 1,600 battle value, and that's like a 3090s era mech with a pair of LRM-15s, 2 Streak 6s, twin ER mediums. I mean, this thing's got a Gauss and a couple of pulse lasers and an SRM-4, and it costs more than that Crusader. And in fact, armor-wise, I think the Crusader had 3 more pips of armor. I think the Crusader had 203, this has 200. So they're similarly armored. I don't get it. Their speed's the same. The Crusader just, again, I think a fantastic mech. This Victor, not bad for that 30, late 30s, 40s era mech, but I really would want more out of it. Let's look at the gunnery sensitivity. It's not great. It's very low, and that's because, again, you've got a Gauss rifle, you can hit at range, or you don't. And then, the majority of your weapons are like pulse weapons, right? You've got a lot of damage coming out of those pulse weapons. And we can take a look at that when we get to the threat chart, but once you get into 6 inches, you saw the damage uptick quite a bit. Even that top left chart, you can see it. It almost doubles in area once those medium pulse lasers get into play. So there's that. So overall, 6.58. It's still to the right of the bell curve. It's better than average. It's not a bad mech. But we've been looking at ones that are so good. I think it sort of sours a little bit when you look at a 6.5 versus like a 9.5. At the end of the day, would I take the Victor? Yeah, definitely. I love the Victor. It's a cool design. I'm going to take it anyway. But, maybe I don't put my best pilot in it. Maybe I put a 3-4 in it and just let it run. It's doing 124 points of basically the effective ACD would be 124.09. So it's about 10 points of damage a turn, that you can rely on coming out of this mech. All right, so let's take a look at threat and rolls. I'll tell you what I think about this mech in terms of where I would play it, and then we'll wrap this thing up. The closer you get, the better. The Gauss rifle, the minimum range is like a non-factor. You can play this thing in a Vanguard role. Again, the idea is get it across the field. It's got good survivability. It can take some fire. It can shoot the Gauss rifle on the way in. And then you're in, right? Second line mech is the other thing I picked. I almost only picked 2 rolls for this thing. You could keep it back a little bit, use that Gauss rifle, and then when the timing's right, you could get in, use those jump jets to clear difficult terrain, things along those lines, and just kind of use the mech in that capacity as like a cleanup, once everybody's engaged. And that'll keep the mech fresh so that when it does get in, it's bringing all of its weapons to bear versus, coming in with just an SRM-4 because it lost both of its arms or whatever. But, again, that was a bit of a stretch for me. I don't know. I struggle on how I would play this particular variant. When I play the Victor 9D, I modify it. Some of you guys may have seen this variant on the channel. Get rid of the pulse lasers, put standard ones back in place, and then upgrade that SRM-4 if you can to an LRM-10 or an LRM-5. I like to do the 10 and strip some heat sinks, and I live dangerously. So that's how I like to do it, and I feel like that gives it really nice complementary long-range punch with the Gauss rifle. And then those standard medium lasers, can actually hit to 9 inches versus 6, which, the difference between 3 and 6, hexes, it's substantial. It's almost a whole extra turn of movement for this particular mech. So you look at the threat chart, again, it's not doing a ton of damage. It's doing the bulk of it once the SRM and the pulse lasers get into play. Can't build up heat, so you don't see any differential between the 0 heat and the maximum ACD. The ACD gap is 76.9%. That's largely, again, what you can do if you hit, or what you're doing if you're likely to hit, and that's based on a Gunnery 2 pilot. So you can see, as you get closer, that gap kind of closes, but then it drops. It doesn't jump as much at 9 inches, because then you're bringing in a variable damage weapon. How many SRMs are actually going to hit? Anyway, I don't know what to say about the Victor. Again, mod it. It's a great chassis. I love a big Gauss rifle, but I think just get rid of that SRM, put an LRM rack on there, and just ditch those garbage IS pulse lasers. Put on just standard medium lasers, and then use that tonnage again to either upgrade the LRM with a couple extra heat sinks dumped, maybe even add more armor, whatever you want to do there. That will increase the battle value, but you do get more mileage out of the mech that way. Anyway, I'm done my analysis. That wraps it up. Again, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I mean, all you got to do is click the button. It's actually in the bottom of this video. In all of our videos, there's like a little logo. You can just click that to subscribe, or you can go to the main channel page and subscribe there. Again, if you want to get more involved, Patreon's the place to do it. That's where you can vote on analyses like these. I know a lot of guys are like, hey, can you do this mech? Can you do that mech? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can do that over on Patreon. And over there, I do put up polls with a lot of the mechs that the patrons recommend, and then we kind of have like a, if needed, we'll whittle that down if there's like a tie or whatever, across a lot of different mechs, we'll have sort of some tiebreaker polls. But anyway, the other thing is we're coming out with some really exciting content around the Destiny system, right? We have the card builder. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about that. You've seen it in the battle reports. We're also starting to build out a suite of little narrative campaign packets, right? What's happening, what's the terrain, what's the mission, some special things around that, what we recommend in terms of things you bring to the table. So it's really cool, and that's going to be available to our $5, what we call our regular tier, right? We have our green, regular, and veteran tiers. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Anyway, that's it. Guys, go over to Aries Games and Minis, buy some stuff, spend your money, get some books, get some dice, buy somebody a Christmas present or a post-Christmas present or whatever you want. Or if you don't celebrate Christmas, just a holiday gift. Anything that you want to spend your money on. Aries Games and Minis is where you should be spending all your money. Again, awesome terrain there as well. By the way, I failed to mention this in the past. Hardware Studios, you can get his stuff from Aries Games and Minis, and there are some exclusive pieces there that you can only get on Aries Games and Minis, which I think is super cool. So that is definitely worth getting, in addition to all the other great stuff that's out there. So that's it. Done marketing, done analyzing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and of course, stay tuned. More battle reports, more analyses, more interviews, more exciting stuff on the way from Death from Above Wargaming. Guys, have a great night.